Coming up, we crack open a bubbly.
It's like I popped a bottle of champagne.
Got a new hat. The transformation. And we dabble with heavy objects. The restoration of this mighty 1991 Calypso Red E31 850i continues. This episode marks a big milestone as by the end of it, the 12-cylinder beating heart is going to be back in Project Marseille. And along the way, we are going to capture the essence and beauty of car restoration as a bunch of small projects within the big project come together to form the big picture. In the previous chapter, we had a rather disappointing experience with dry ice blasting, and now it's time for round 2. I'm removing the bumper and further stripping down the engine bay as I booked an appointment with a mobile dry ice service. Removing the brake pressure accumulator.
ABS pump. Ruined boot. We need to disconnect the plug. Connector disconnected. Now we can unbolt the lines. That's the ABS pump out. Look at that. Now quickly get the brake fluid off so it doesn't eat the paint. The AC dryer. This is the AC line. Now we need to unplug this. Now we're going to remove the ASC plus T block, the pump. This is for the traction control. We need to do a minor service to it and also clean the area behind it. Woo, that's foamy. Why is it foamy? Stop it! Let's just let it foam. Guess it's pressurized. It's like I popped a bottle of champagne. This is fascinating. It must eventually stop, right? Oh, there we go. Are you done? Ah, there we go. Oh, it's really stuck. Now I need to unplug the connector. 2 of them. Bear in mind, none of this was touched in over 30 years. Two screws in the bottom. And it is out. And look how nasty it is over here. This is where the brake fluid was leaking and now we have bare paint. So all this needs to be cleaned up and then we need to do a bit of
A nice subscriber from the area reached out and kindly came to the shop with the dry ice machine and a massive air compressor. A lot of spots were missed by the previous guy and I wanted to address that and get the engine bay looking cleaner and on par with the shiny engine. There was a lot of factory Cosmoline left in the engine bay that needed to be removed. As the car was mostly clean, it was fine to do the blasting in the shop and not get everything covered in dirt. This is where the true condition of this corner of the engine bay was revealed. The brake fluid dripping from above damaged the paint and it was simply flying off and exposing bare metal. The good fellas did a great job cleaning up all of the small details. If you're looking for a dry ice blasting service in the Frankfurt area, email me and I will forward you their contact info. Now to address the paint issue in the corner. I ordered some Calypso Red in the spray can along with clear coat and epoxy rust converter / primer. I'm removing as many parts as I can in that area in preparation for new paint. Next up was to wire off a bit of surface rust. Clean up with brake cleaner. And prep other areas that need a new coat of paint. First, the rust converter is applied. Two layers in total. And after 24 hours had passed, the paint goes on. From the factory, the engine bay is just lightly sprayed with base paint without clear coat. To replicate that finish but also have a stronger one, I went with a matte clear coat. Once this fully dries, after a few days, we'll apply an additional layer of protection. And we went from this to this.
This is what's left of the old transmission / firewall sound deadening and heat shield. It's completely destroyed, very, very crispy. And naturally, this is no longer available to be bought brand new.
The abbreviation NLA will be coming up often in this episode. So, what do you do when you can't buy replacement parts? You make them yourself. Upon research, I found this stuff to be a perfect fit for our needs. Floor and tunnel shield from DEI. It's 5mm thick and consists of an aluminum face bonded to a composite glass fiber core and a high temp, super strong glue backing. This stuff is expensive. I paid 285 euros for this big slice, and as such, I don't want to waste any materials, so the first step is to create a template. I'm using what's left of the old sound deadening to mark where the new one needs to go. There's probably a better method to go about this, but as I didn't think of any, I used what another member of Beamerformers used to create a template. Thicker aluminum foil and tape to make it stiffer.
The template is done. This took 13 years, but that's okay, because now I don't know what to do either. Pretty sure we can't lay that thing in one piece. It doesn't stretch, it's thick aluminum, so I'm gonna have to split it in like a few pieces, maybe 3 or 4. Like cut it here and here and here, and then stitch it together. What do you think? I don't know. All right, we're gonna split it in 3 pieces, and I hope that's going to work. Now, second piece. This is going to be incredibly tricky to do, I think, because it doesn't flow naturally. Oh, natural. I think it's time to get the template off. Alrighty. Okay. Don't tear it. Okay, the template is off. Okay, there we go. Will this even be enough? Okay, it's the middle section. That's how this is gonna have to work, I guess. All right, Got scissors for cutting metal. There it is, one piece done. Let's test fit the first piece. All right. This is good. The middle piece. Going to have to cut it here because there's no way I can flip that upwards. Okay.
And after test fitting, I am now cleaning and degreasing the surface so that the glue sticks better.
Okay, that's one piece in. There is no readjusting this. The glue is super strong, and once it sticks, it's a done deal. Nice.
Lastly, I'm using high temp black alu tape to stitch up the sections that I had to cut. Had I had a replacement part, this would be a 10-minute job. Instead, it took me a whole day to get this done. But I gotta say, it turned out much better than I thought. It looks very clean and tidy, and it greatly surpasses the original part in terms of keeping the heat and sound out of the cabin. And it should last longer too. The last step is to apply rust protection. I'm using Dinitrol transparent beige film, which sprays on liquid and then cures to a hard finish. On to the next job, the clutch line. This is another part that's NLA. It consists of a hard line on one end and a rubber line on the other. And as you can see, the rubber line has seen better days. As we can't get a new one, let's make one. I measured the rubber part of the line, which is 340 millimeters long. Then I went on ProBrake's website where they have a configurator for custom lines and ordered a stainless steel braided hose in needed length with 2 female ends. I also added the optional transparent jacket. This configurator works great and you can create any brake line or clutch line in our case that you need. This set me back 55 euros with shipping, and a few days later our custom line showed up. Now we need to create the hard line that will connect to our new braided line.
So here's a piece of hard brake line from ATE. I have 2 connectors here. So I think first thing we're going to do is mount this one there. And for that I have the special tool. Remember, we've done this on Project Cologne not long ago. The pipe goes through here. Tighten these screws here. Remove the position bolt. Get the punch bolt and the special punch grease. Pop it in and twist it. And there's our beautiful flare. It is as easy as that. So don't forget to put the connector on there. And now we need to bend it and replicate the old one. So let's go to the vise, Miami vise. So this is our bending tool, and we need to replicate this bend here. I think like that. Very good. Allen Iverson. Here's our new hard line, bent to shape. Now I need to shorten it. And by the way, the diameter of the old clutch line, it's actually larger than the new one, but it doesn't matter at all. What matters here is the master cylinder, the size of the bore, and the slave cylinder, which is exactly the same. As far as the line goes, it doesn't matter if it's bigger or smaller. There. There we go. Perfecto. Punch it. And there you have it. Even Shaquille O'Neal would have been proud of this. We have ourselves a brand new, upgraded clutch line stainless steel hose, which should last the lifetime of the car. Really happy how this turned out. Nice little project. The hydraulic unit, or ASC plus T pump, the block, which we need to clean up and do a minor service. Okie dokie karaoke. To get these two lines off, but I want to mark their position. Something like that. Proper flare wrench from Hazard. Excellent. Was? This one is bigger, man. Ja, genau, this one is 12. Oh. Ah, there it is. This one here we can remove also, because I need to paint this bracket here. Ah, muy excelente. This is the kit, well, a tiny kit from Extra Classics. And we have two O-rings that we need to replace there. Comes with instructions in Deutsch. Ach so! So we need to remove this here. Ah, cool. It's dry, which is good. So the gasket did its job. And next we need to remove these three screws here. So there's one, and as I was cleaning here, you can see some remains of brake fluid and stuff. So the whole point of these two O-rings, there's one here and then another one on this side, is to stop brake fluid, oil, and whatever else entering the pump and destroying the electronics. So that's why we are replacing them. So get this one out, like that, and then remove these two screws here. That was loose. Why is it glued, man? Okay, we need to carefully remove the coil and not damage it or bend it in any shape or form.
The coil was stuck to the plate, so I threaded in the screws halfway in and tapped on them to loosen the coil.
There it is. That worked. Now we have this plastic tab which we can bend or remove. So the coil is out, undamaged, and there's the second ring, O-ring. So pop that out. Now, we can put all this inside and clean this part. So the good news is that this is in good condition. Just replace the O-rings and this should continue to serve as intended. O-ring numero uno going in. There it is. Now the coil can go back in. Give it a nice good twist. Nothing too crazy. You will feel it bottom out. Wonderful. Get the second O-ring in here, put this on the side and clean the surface here. So this has to go like that. So we're gonna keep this on this side and then turn the pump, do it like that. And that way the O-ring is gonna stay in place. The gasket and the cover. All right, and that's that service done. Here are the brand new original PS lines. That's it. And the second one. So that's the pump ready to go back in. Now I gotta protect this area here with Dinitrol so it doesn't rust, and it's like an extra layer of protection. Need a mask. Don't be lazy. When you spraying chemicals, always get a mask. I think I sprayed way too much, which is great. I really wanted it to be thick. Thick, I tell you. Okay, let that dry and then we can commence the installation in this section of the engine bay.
I refreshed the brackets that hold the pump.
As you can see, I also added a bit of Dynomat here because this thing was too thick to go over there. I couldn't cut it properly, and this is also sound deadening / heat shield, just not as good as this one, but in this corner it is fine. All right, what's next? The brake line.
Then I secured the wiring loom exactly how it was before.
Clean brake lines going in. Here. Time to grab the pump. Okay.
We had a lot of rusty bolts and nuts that were either very expensive for BMW or not available. So I had the old ones professionally zinc plated. They came out looking really pretty. Sorting them out afterwards takes a bit of time. I took pictures of each bolt next to the labeled bag and measured the length of the bolts so I could sort them out accordingly after plating. This thing of beauty is the ABS pump. And no, it's not a brand new part. In fact, this is the old pump of Project Malaga, an E31 that I revived on the channel after 16 years of sitting. This pump was fully clogged and its internals looked like this. There is only one person in the world, as far as I know, that's able to service these old pumps, and that's Jordan of M Technique ABS from Houston, Texas. He took apart this pump down to the smallest piece and replaced and refurbished everything. The body was vapor blasted, bolts zinc plated, and pump tested on his proprietary workbench. I can honestly say that this pump looks far better now than when it was brand new. It's conquers quality. Simply an outstanding job and service that Jordan is providing to the car community. The link is in the description and you can find on his website the list of services that he offers. Huge thank you to Jordan for his contribution towards Project Marseille. To protect this beautiful finish, I'm using the trusty XCP rust blocker.
What a thing of beauty, man.
Also some protection for the brake lines.
There we go. It's important to correctly start the lines and not cross-thread them. Perfect. Brand new original ATE pressure accumulator. Can't get my leg in, man. Look at this. Oh, graciously. We need to remove the master cylinder. There we go. I think that's 17. I can't. What? I can't get out. I'm stuck. Bullshit. The two-post lift is great for everything apart when you need to open the doors. For that, it sucks. It is a good thing I'm a relatively skinny chap. Okay, clutch pedal is disconnected. Now another bolt here. Wait, are there more? Yep, there's another one. Here. It is out. Success. Brand new clutch master cylinder from ATE. We need the connector from the old one. There it is. And the old one is all rust inside. And that's why I wanted to replace it. Like, look at this. That's all rust inside. Bad. Because remember, this car was sitting for 10 plus years. Pop it in. Good. Here's a brand new line. I did clean this line. Let's find some brake fluid. And that's mounted. There it is, it went in. Connected to the pedal now. Very good. That's the master cylinder installed. Let's see how our custom line fits now. All right. Okay, so then we have this rubber piece here, and then we have this, how does this go? So this white plastic clip was still available from BMW, and then it clips into here. You know what? That is a perfect fitment. Let's tighten the line. That looks OE. And I love it. All right, I'm gonna spritz a bit more dinitrol here. So I'm gonna plug the line here. By the way, I did clean the line before I put it in.
Next to be reinstalled are the refurbished brake booster, new brake master cylinder, and a clean brake fluid reservoir.
Get the fuel lines through. So clip in the fuel lines. The sponge. Now we can jump inside. Alright. The booster bolted in. Now the pin. Okay, that's in. The clip is in place, so the brake booster has been successfully reinstalled. Brand new bolts. For the fuel lines, we have OE Cool Line 2240.0600. These are very, very good high quality fuel lines, and they are heat resistant up to 125 degrees Celsius, briefly up to 140, so they are safe to be used in the engine bay. For the clamps, we're using fully stainless steel clamps from Ideal W4, very, very good clamps as well. So only the good stuff. Blow out this line. Fantastico. And then this goes in the fuel rail. Okay, so sit there for now. We have this line here. Tighten that up. Excellent. Now we have the pipe that goes from the brake booster down to the pressure accumulator, like this. Underneath all of this. Alright, now we can do the brake reservoir. Small mistake. This goes like this. And then this cable clips in here. Just like that. Master cylinder. Got a bit of brake fluid here. Lube it up. Okay. Then pop it in here. It is in. Cool. The heater core valve, this is the old one and we are going to reuse it. A brand new one is still available from BMW. It's around 455 euros, but I am unsure of quality. If it's a reproduction part, then it's not going to be as good as this one. And as far as I know, this one was working perfectly fine. So I'm going to replace all of the coolant lines, pop it in, and then if you later have a problem with this, I can always replace it later. It's not a huge deal to access it. Goes in like that. Plug it in. That. Unbuckle this. Goes here. Cover here. And this thing. Then lock it into place. Boom.
The following item on the crap list of parts that need a refurb is the hydraulic fluid reservoir.
Oh my god, I'm gonna need new ones. Yep. Oop, both of these are shit. Alright, placed an order for new grommets. 5 euros each, brand new. Looks like they're still available, so that's good. So now we're gonna take apart this completely. This, oh my, there's a circlip that we need to remove. So this is the rubber piece, the lid, and the filter. All right, now I'm gonna throw all of this in the ZZ machine and degrease it. And then let's see if this needs a lick of paint. Let's clean up this block here, plug the holes. We're gonna have to paint this. It's in really poor state. This pipe here we're going to have to reuse. It's no longer available. And this one typically doesn't leak, so we just need to clean it. There it is. I ordered these new as well. We're gonna have to paint this as well. It doesn't look great. All right, so I'm gonna scruff this up, then thoroughly clean it, tape it off some stuff, and paint it. Welcome to the paint booth, aka the wilderness behind the shop. For the paint, we're using 2-component matte black paint, heat resistant up to 180 degrees Celsius, but most importantly, it's resistant to chemicals.
This is an extra bottle I had laying around. For a durable, long-lasting finish, I recommend using Foliatec 2-component spray, which is like epoxy and it cures to a very hard and strong finish. It's the same stuff I'm using here.
I'm gonna do 3 thick coats. This turned out fantastic. The finish is really, really nice. Uniform, even, and it feels strong. So it is assembly time. Here is the brand new filter. This thing is NLA. Don't remember where I found this one, but it's like one of the last ones that I managed to find. Two gaskets that were completely missing previously. These are brand new. That's the rubber seals installed on the filter, and this cap goes like this, not like that, it won't fit. So first the filter goes in on the bottom, make sure to center it, sort of clips into place. Then this thing, that's the clip on. So the easiest way to do it is just slide it on and then push it with your hands. Next is the mesh filter. Then another spring, the washer, the mesh filter, and the sleeve. The cap, and the screw cap. The rubber line. All right. This turned out great. So got brand new switches here from ATE. Good and twist here. Good. Brand new line. Zinced for your pleasure. And that goes there. And then this one goes here. Beautiful. The power steering lines that go to the oil cooler, we need to clean this up and replace the rubber lines. Brand new lines. The foam. Okay, that one is done. Does this go in? Power steering oil cooler, which I spruced up. The AC condenser, which we are going to replace, and we need to reuse the electric fan, which we need to clean and replace this connector here. All right. Okay, look at this. This is the old condenser. Here's the replacement one that I got from Male/Bear, made in Vietnam, and it is a toy. Just compare them. This is twice as thick as this. Then look at the overall design. This is beautiful, robust, properly made. This is a children's toy. Leak test passed, okay quality. It just reeks of cheapness. And I have a feeling that this is not going to last. So I'm going to return this, and now I need to order a brand new original one from the dealer, which is 460 euros. It's a lot. This one was 150. I could use it, but I won't, because when it comes to this car, everything has to be absolutely perfect. And when I restore this car, it has to last. So all of the parts that I'm using either have to be original or OE or OEM plus. I will not be using OEM parts, which is this. OEM means that it's made by the OE manufacturer, like Mahle Behr, they make parts for BMW, but they also make cheaper aftermarket parts like this shit here. So this is not going on this car. This I'm gonna put on the side and place an order for a new one. Now I need to replace this connector here because the one on the car completely disintegrated. Have a new one here, so I'm gonna chop this one off and solder the new one in. Here is the brand new AC condenser from the dealer. It is not the same as the original part that I removed from the car. This one is a bit thinner, but this is a good quality part made in Spain by Valeo. And it is much, much, much better quality than the garbage that Mahle is selling nowadays. AC lines.
Brand new original AC dryer.
This is the original BMW AC dryer. I paid 200 and something euros for it. I originally bought Mahle, which was 27 euros. It was made in China and it looked like garbage, so I sent it back. But we have a problem. I read this on the forum now. This is the AC line bolt and it is too long. Well, the AC dryer doesn't have enough threads here to accommodate this bolt, so you can't bolt down the AC line. So now I have to create the threads, which is something you really want to do when you spend 200 and something euros on a brand new original part, right? Threads have been added. Now we need to plug it in. Done. There it is. To connect these lines here.
Yet another hose that goes from the booster to the canister. And that's everything in this corner done.
The carbon canister for the fuel vapors, we can pop that in now since we have nice and easy access. But first, rust protection. Brand new line with a kink that goes here.
And now the thing that makes this car rather rare and special, the 6-speed manual transmission. We have two issues here that we need to address. The selector shaft seal is leaking and the arm for the exhaust hanger is broken. Let's start with the oil leak first. This is the Getrag 560G transmission and the spare parts for it don't exist. The shaft seal parts were available from BMW back in the day, but they've been long discontinued.
Now I can push out the pin. All right. There it is.
I thought there was a simple seal here that I could measure and try to find the replacement one, but turns out the way the selector shaft seals is a bit unconventional, so I decided to remove all of the parts and understand how it works.
So the reason why I can't pull it out now, it's clipped to the bottom. I thought this was a seal, but no, it's just a sleeve. Yes! There it is. It has a spring on the bottom. That's why it was difficult to get it out. So completely taken apart. So here's how this contraption works. Pretend this is a selector shaft. You have this condom here, and you have a recess in the selector shaft here, which is where this clips on the bottom. So we didn't have a leak here because this is all good. Our leak was coming from here because you have a shim here, then the sealing sleeve, and then it seals by this plate pushing onto rubber up against this sealing sleeve, and then you have a clip that clips it on here. Yeah. So every single transmission typically use a normal radial shaft seal there, but not this one. It had to be over-engineered like the rest of the car. And I spoke to Harold, the E31 guru, and of course he knows the reason for this. It's actually quite simple, I just didn't think it through. If you have a radial shaft seal here, and if you have plain the selector shaft, then you're gonna have a leak. This way, this can be flexible. Like shaft moves like this is going to stay in place and then move on the bottom, and it's going to create a good seal. The problem is all of these parts are discontinued. None of this is available anymore. So I'm gonna do what Harold suggested, and he's done this a couple of times. By the way, I did find a radial shaft seal in the right dimensions. I'm gonna post that on the screen. But anyway, what we're gonna do here is actually quite simple. Reinstall the rubber seal, put back the shim, the sealing sleeve, and then we're going to pack this with Rinso Seal, RTV. We're gonna put Rinso Seal on the bottom, on the top, so that this seals up against this with Rinso Seal, and then a bit more on the top here for this plate, and then put the clip back on. And that's going to stop it from leaking. This is what Harold did a few times, and it worked like charm for him. And I want to be able to reuse the old parts and make it work like it was designed to. A bit of cleaning first. So there is no high pressure here. There's just a chamber, and then there's a drain hole here so that whatever oil ends up in this chamber can drain back into the transmission. Now we need to reinstall the condom. First, the boot. I did lube it up with oil. So this we need to push all the way in so that it clips. I need a plastic tool of some sort. I think this will do. So if you're doing this job, you don't need to remove the boot. Just pull it up and then apply a Rinso Seal here. I removed it because I was curious how this thing works, how it's assembled. I think it's clipped in now. Yep, you can see that I can't pull it out now, which means it's in. First, the shim. And now I'm gonna grab Rinso Seal. So I'm gonna put Rinso Seal on the edge here. Like that. Okay, I'm gonna gently tap it in. Okay, that's fully seated now. And now we need to put a sizable amount of Rinso Seal there, because that's what's going to create the seal. Rinso Seal is the shit, man. I'm gonna press it down. Yes, nice one. The cover and the circlip. There it is. Gonna wipe it off. The amount of over-engineering that went into this car is pretty remarkable. And this is how that looks like. Nice and clean, factory-like. If this doesn't work out, and I'm pretty sure it will, then I can rip all of this out and put a radial shaft in there, but with Rinso Seal in place, there's no chance that this thing is going to leak, so job done.
The broken arm. The initial plan was to simply have this welded, but this being aluminium, it's complicated to do a proper repair and have a strong weld. It would involve taking the gearbox apart and removing the rear cover, as the heat from welding would destroy the seal here. Then the entire cover would have to be heated up before welding, which would likely warp it, which would lead to having it resurfaced, changing clearances, and more issues. This plus no available spare parts. I didn't want to open this can of bananas and potentially render this very expensive and rare gearbox useless. I opted to have a custom bracket made that bolts to the gearbox with 2 existing bolts on the side. My good friend Valerio was up to the task and made a steel bracket replicating the original one as much as possible. And credit where it's due, he did an excellent job. It looks rather good, and I think it's a better solution than messing with the gearbox internals, and certainly stronger than re-welding the old piece. A big thank you and shout out to Valerio. Besides being a good friend, he also offers a service transporting, inspecting, and buying cars in Europe. His contact details are in the description. Now, back to the star of the show, the M70B54 V12 engine that we built earlier. We have a few loose ends to do before taking it off the stand, like putting a heat shield on the fuel rails.
Have some heat shield material here from the factory. These were covered with thin aluminum. Not gonna do that, we're rather going to use this stuff. So let's cut it out. Where are my scissors? Borrowed some old school scissors from my landlord. These are good scissors, much better than mine. Probably made back in the day when humans used to make stuff that lasts. So this is very similar to the stuff that we used earlier, only it's much thinner. Well, that looks fantastic. Gonna do the same with the other one. Before we take the engine off the stand, we need to check for vacuum leaks and confirm that we don't have any. I have my smoke detector here. There it is. Pop it in and let's monitor for smoke. So if we have any leaks from the intake manifold gaskets, they would manifest right about there. High five, buddy. We have some smoke here from the throttle body. That's totes fine. Nothing from the intake manifold gaskets. A high five to you as well. I wouldn't expect any leaks, but we need to confirm after all. Okay, let's check the other side. Again here from the throttle bodies, but the gaskets are sealing properly. Confirmed, no vacuum leaks. Time to get the engine off the stand. Where's my apple picker?
Behold the NLA parts in front of you. The clutch kit for this car has been discontinued for the last 10-15 years, yet somehow I managed to find a brand new clutch plate and pressure plate. I bought this old stock pressure plate from a nice subscriber, and my good friend Saleh had a brand new clutch plate just laying around that he generously gifted to me. The flywheel I had resurfaced, and then we have a brand new throwout bearing and pilot bearing.
First, the pilot bearing. We just need to tap it into place and it's going to bottom out on the inside. Very good. Clean the flywheel. This is the special tool to center the clutch plate. It is the same one as for the E31 M5 and E46 M3 gearbox. Like that. New bolts, gonna use medium thread locker on them. This is the part number for the clutch centering tool.
Back to the gearbox, we need to replace the clutch fork pivot pin.
Alright, let's get it loose. Haha! It was rusted in there.
I went with a composite pin, which in my experience is better suited and lasts longer than steel or brass.
High temp grease. Apply it on the fork here and then on the back here for the pin and for the slave cylinder. There we go. A bit here and here. And then the throwout bearing can go in. And this is how this contraption here works. No grease here, okay? Time to marry you two! And now, it's marriage time. Uh-huh. There it is. Our beautiful zinc bolts. Just there.
Next up, the steering box, which I sent out to be fully refurbished and brand new original engine mounts.
Powder coated subframe, which looks beautiful. This spacer, as parts diagram calls it, goes here. The pitman arm, we need to line up this mark in the pitman arm with the shaft in the steering box. So like that. Then we have a bolt and a nut. Gonna leave this bolt loose for now, as we need to adjust the height of the pitman arm at a later stage. Couldn't find a torque spec for this, so we're going with good and tight. Right. All right. That's tight. Lastly, the clips. Brand new idler arm. Time to move the engine to the hydraulic table. Woo! It's in. Touchdown.
We need to make the transmission cross member look better than brand new, if you know what I mean.
Step inside my Vixen Surface Treatments Aquablast 1215 vapor blasting cabinet. Let's have a blast.
So, mint alu parts and a new transmission mount.
New shifter joint, a dab of high temp grease here. Get the pin in there. Beautiful. We have the refurbished starter here, the heat shield, and the wiring which we need to connect. The heat shield, washers, powder coated bracket, beautiful. Doesn't that look spiffy? Had to remove both headers in order to fit the starter. I'm a moron for not doing this before. So we have a screw here.
This is the hydraulic filter before cleaning and after.
The hydraulic line, this is NLA, so I spruced up the old one. Do it and twist. We can hook up this line to the PS pump. Got a brand new Benjamin here with fresh crush washers.
Here we have upgraded encoder plates for the throttle bodies. These are normally NLA parts, but Ed from V12throttle.com developed them. Original encoder plates have several issues that eventually lead to delayed throttle response, poor running, and even a dead cylinder bank. These were redesigned and only the highest quality parts were used. The encoder surface is coated and treated to be far more resilient to wear than the original ones. The throttle response and idle will be outstanding by doing this upgrade. This is a huge win for the E31 and M70 community and a great achievement by Ed. Check out his website as he has many more parts that were NLA and that he developed for this platform.
Retract the brushes. Be careful with the brushes here. Get the new gasket in place. Get the new one in place. So retract the brushes. I'm gonna use sandpaper and clean this up and polish it. Bit of brake cleaner to clean it. New gasketillo. Make sure it opens fine. And that's it. The engine wiring harness, I spent quite some time cleaning this up. It looks pretty decent. Now we need to replace this positive wire here. This is the brand new one. Now I need to extract this wire. Don't know if that's even possible. Spritz a ton of silicone spray in there. I had to put this in the vise and then pull on this like a lunatic to get it to slide out. It doesn't look terrible, but this is the cable that typically can go bad. You can see it's a bit melty here and then cause issues, so we are replacing it. This is a little bit rusty and crusty, so I'm gonna quickly paint it. Let's see. Time to connect everything. Plug in the fuel injectors. Powder coated brackets and zinced nuts. Purge valve connectors. So I marked all of the connectors before taking the harness off many episodes ago. So here is their finished pipe thing. I love working on this engine and this car. The engineering aspect is amazing. If you see an old E31, doesn't matter which engine it is, gearbox, get it, save it. Yes, it'll cost you money, but you don't have to do everything at once. You can do it slowly, bit by bit, and the finished result is going to be amazing and you're gonna have a lot of fun doing it. All right, so let's get the new cable through. There it is. We have this boot here that's slightly torn, and this connector connects to nothing. That looks much nicer. We have an oil line here. This is a brand new one. That will go to the oil filter housing.
The oil feed and return line, which I spruced up and installed new O-rings.
Bit of oil. Plate.
A brand new hydraulic line.
The crush washers. Brilliant.
Got brand new air duct covers, which I want to install now as the access is easy.
The cable.
It feels like it's been ages since we removed the engine out of this car. An original, untouched for over 30 years V12 engine. It was filthy, oily, rusty, grimy, and just nasty. And now we have this shiny and clean OEM Plus V12 power plant that not only looks beautiful, but will also make a lot more power than the old unit. Reuniting the car with its engine, a big moment this.
Here we go, here we go! Can't believe it's been a year and a half since I took this power plant out, and now it's finally going back in after many, many hours of labor. This should be fairly interesting because in most cases the engines, they start wide at the bottom and then get kind of narrow towards the top, but not here. Here it's wider on the top than it is on the bottom because of the intake manifolds. So we gotta be very careful not to scratch things here and crush stuff, you know? Careful now, amigos. Man, that is a tight squeeze. The engine is through the chassis rails. Woo, we are nearly there. I had to lower the transmission in the back, and hopefully now we can get the subframe high enough so it goes in. Okay, we have one bolt that's in on this side. Oh, blimey. There are 6 subframe bolts in total. The subframe is in. Start the bolts. The subframe, these are M10 9.8 grade bolts, and the torque spec is 47 Newton meters. And the engine stayed in. Just a little bit tricky, but overall not too bad. Just gonna quickly look over everything, make sure we didn't pinch anything. The headers cleared everything. That all looks good. Okay, everything from the bottom looks perfect. And Bobby Jones is your uncle. The engine is in, and just look how magnificent it looks. The water pump that's actually currently in shipping, finally. Spent quite a lot of money and time to get that done, which I'll explain in the next episode, but Top Mark came through yet again. That is the job done, at least for now. Cheers. I know some of you are hoping to hear this engine run for the first time in this episode. Unfortunately, we're still far away from that step. Before we can flip the key, we need to plumb in everything around the engine, then bolt up the exhaust. But before we can do that, we need to put back the fuel tank and refurbish the entire rear subframe. And then the exhaust is gonna go in, which is sitting on the shelf right over there, a brand new custom one. So yeah, I'm really anxious to hear this engine run as well. That's coming in the next episode. For this one, we're gonna park it here. This is a huge milestone. I've been working on this car for about 1.5 years, on and off, and to see this engine back in the engine bay, it's a glorious sight. Behind the scenes, this actually took forever, because I was cleaning and refurbishing absolutely everything along the way. I didn't put a single dirty part back on this engine. Every single nut and bolt that I put back on this engine, it's shiny, it's brand new. And that's something that I always wanted to do, but with that comes an insane amount of time that you have to invest. And if you're doing everything yourself, like me, one man, it just takes time. Anyway, I think the end result is going to be amazing, and yeah, thank you for coming along on this adventure with me. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, perhaps consider subscribing. I would appreciate that. A lot more content like this coming your way soon. The next episode is going to be on Project Rottweil, the E31 Touring. We're finally proceeding with the 6-speed manual swap. For now, adios.